Today, we're doing a case study of a company that has been experimenting with agents and is actually moving into an orchestration phase, and it's not a big tech company as you traditionally think of them. No, in fact, it is the world's biggest retailer, Walmart. Welcome back to the AI Daily Brief. So, something interesting happened last week. Walmart made an announcement about their updated agent strategy, which, without digging into it too much, if you had asked me, I would have predicted that it was sort of just a corporate press release, right? I wouldn't have thought that it would get all that much attention. We've sort of moved out of the stage at least a little bit, where you can talk about your AI or agent strategy without really saying anything new and get earned media for it just because. And yet, outlet after outlet after outlet ran stories about Walmart's agent strategy. I thought this was really interesting, and so I started to dig into it a little bit deeper, and I actually think it's an interesting bellwether of where things are headed. The TLDR is that Walmart is moving from an agent experimentation phase to what I would call an agent orchestration phase. Basically, they're moving from single spot agents that can do small tasks well to overarching systems where management agents can orchestrate and coordinate sub-agents that do those individual tasks into a whole that is hopefully greater than the sum of its parts. So that's what we're going to talk about today. But just to give a little bit of background, especially for the fairly decent chunk of you who are not in the US, it's kind of hard to overstate just how enormous Walmart is. Walmart is the largest employer in America with over 2.1 million employees. They are by far the world's largest retailer. These are 2020 numbers, but more recent numbers had it at $635 billion as opposed to Amazon's $360 billion. And even more than that, just in terms of companies ranked by revenue, Walmart is bigger than Saudi Aramco, PetroChina, and everyone else. Point being that Walmart is huge, and so maybe that's part of what's capturing attention. The other thing that's interesting to note, though, is that despite the fact that they are in the same space as Amazon, Walmart has in no way shirked or decided to retreat from digital battles and is one of the most aggressive about connecting how they operate their physical retail stores with the latest new technology. Walmart is not just a physical retailer, it's also an insanely complicated logistics business. It's got one of the largest e-commerce platforms on the planet, and it also has a sprawling white-collar organization. In other words, there is lots and lots of room for agents to come in and find new efficiencies and help them do things differently. Now, the big announcement was not only that Walmart is, to use the title of the blog post by Global CTO Suresh Kumar, all in on agents, the way that they're thinking about agents is particularly relevant. Kumar writes, "I believe in the power of agentic AI to transform industries. We've been building agents fast for every aspect of the business. Once we saw how quickly teams were adopting these agents and how helpful they were, we realized agents weren't just useful, they were essential." However, Kumar and Walmart also found a challenge. "We also recognized," he said, "that multiple agents, even if each one is useful, can quickly become overwhelming and confusing. So," he writes, "we made a deliberate choice to go beyond individual tools and build a unified company-wide framework. One that ensures every new agent we roll out makes life simpler and easier for everyone. For consumers, for customers, for associates, and for our partners." So at the core of the strategy they announced are four of what Kumar and Walmart are calling super agents. And in many ways, this is basically an orchestration agent or a boss agent or a management agent or whatever you want to call it. An agent that sits on top, interfaces with its intended audience, and can route whatever they're trying to do to the right sub-agents. Among the four super agents, there is one for customers, one for their team and associates, one for their partners, and one for their developers. The grouping then is not by particular task, it's grouped by particular user, and relatedly, grouped around their connectivity to particular sets of data. Now, one thing that was interesting about the reporting is that it presented it like it was a big shift in strategy, away from individual agents and towards these super agents. The Wall Street Journal piece, for example, was called "Why Walmart is Overhauling Its Approach to AI Agents." And all of this reporting really honed in on how things were getting so confusing with so many different agents. I don't think that that's exactly the story here. And no disrespect to the Wall Street Journal or any other outlet who covered it that way. It was clearly embedded in the narrative that Walmart was presenting. This is really the natural evolution from moving from an agent experimentation phase where you're going to naturally release lots of spot agents that can do very discrete things to see how they function and see how much they improve how different processes work, into an overarching system. And the nature of agents is such that it's going to make sense in those overarching systems to have super agents, to use Walmart's term, to orchestrate and manage and interact with all of those sub-agents that do different things. In other words, this isn't so much an overhaul as a natural evolution, but while Walmart is naturally evolving its approach to AI agents doesn't make for as good of a headline. Also, frankly, it's not the job of everyone who's interacting with these systems to understand what's going on behind the scenes. In fact, Walmart's strategy here in some ways could be seen as parallel to what we're anticipating from GPT-5, which is that in addition to hopefully improved general capability set, a big part of the transition will be from the model selector where you have to pick between O3 or 4.0 mini or 4.0 or whatever model you want to use, to an interface where the interface is smart enough to be able to interact with the prompt and figure out which model is best suited to accomplishing the goal. Basically removing the burden of the user to figure out how to get the best out of the AI, to the AI being smart enough to actually figure that out for itself based on what the user's end goal is. So of the 4 agents that they're building, 2 of them have names. There is Sparky, which is their customer shopping agent, Marty, which is their partner agent, interacting with suppliers, sellers, and advertisers. And then there are 2 so far unnamed agents, one for their associates and teams, which can be anything from scheduling to sales data, and one for their developers. These agents are at various stages of rollout right now. Not all of them are fully live. Sparky, the customer-facing agent, is live right now, but will have expanded capabilities coming in future months. Marty, which is the supplier-facing agent, is not currently live, but is expected to launch soon. And the employee and engineer agents are expected at some point over the next year. Still, when reporters expressed skepticism and basically wanted to make sure that they weren't reporting on hopes and dreams, the executives that they were given access to really hammered home that these were not big future ideas, but building on systems that were already in place. As one executive put it to Fortune, it's not vaporware. What's more, even if the super agents aren't ready, there's already a ton of interaction with the individual sub-agents that will become part of these systems. For example, Retail Dive reported that Walmart currently has 900,000 associates that interact with their internal conversational AI tool, asking 3 million questions per week. The company also says that they've already used AI to cut resolution time in customer support by up to 40%. They've cut fashion production timelines by up to 18 weeks. And they've cut the time needed for shift planning by team leads from 90 minutes to 30 minutes. That 90-minute to 30-minute cut may not seem like all that much at first glance, but across 2.1 million employees, saving an hour at a time across every instance of needing to plan shifts is actually going to represent tens of thousands of hours saved, if not more. Now, as part of the announcement, Walmart is also staffing up. A day in advance of this, they announced that former Instacart executive Daniel Danker will become their head of global AI acceleration, product, and design. And to give an indication of how important they view this role, Danker will report directly to Walmart CEO Doug McMillon. Interestingly, Danker was a product guy at Instacart, being most recently their chief product officer. And this trend of companies hiring AI leads at very high levels that report directly into the CEO is absolutely a trend, which I'm sure we're going to be talking about more on this show. Now, there is a lot more that we could dig into with this specific Walmart announcement. One of the things that's really interesting, for example, if we think about Sparky, is that this is not just about providing a better consumer experience, it's about fundamentally rethinking it. Forbes wrote a piece called Walmart Reveals AI Roadmap that points to a world without search bars. They quoted Hari Vasudev, who's the CTO of Walmart US, from the Retail Rewired Innovation event where they announced all of this stuff. Hari said, "We expect that the search bar and the conventional way of searching for items will be replaced by this multimodal interface in Sparky." He continued, "You could basically give it a very high-level task saying, I've just moved into a new apartment. I'm looking to furnish the entire apartment within this budget, this color scheme, and Sparky will come back and give you the entire selection that'll help you meet exactly that need." In other words, this is a shift from keyword-based search to task-based shopping. The goal is not the more efficient retrieval of relevant results, but agents completing entire planning and shopping workflows. Given how many customers Walmart has, their size and influence in this industry, they could basically self-fulfilling prophecy this modality of interacting with retail into existence. Now, one other really interesting part of these announcements was the ecosystem approach they're taking to building these tools. In the Wall Street Journal article, they write, Walmart said it's connecting these various agents using an open source standard known as Model Context Protocol, or MCP. When Walmart first started building agents, MCP wasn't super widespread. But according to CTO Kumar, the company is now going back and making sure that even their older agents conform with the standard. And this seems to be more than a throwaway priority. Vasudev said during the announcement, From the perspective of the technology and the product stack, we're certainly building Sparky to be capable of interacting with both other agents as well as with humans at the other end. Now, one of the things that makes this interesting is that right now there are different ends working towards the middle when it comes to agentic shopping experiences. What I mean by that is retailers like Walmart are working on their own agentic experiences, but there's also competition for consumers to have their own agents that work on their behalf that are basically their personal representatives and don't have anything to do with Walmart's proprietary agents. The decisions that a company like Walmart makes around how much those personal shopping agents will be able to interact with their proprietary tools will have a big impact on how agentic shopping actually rolls out in practice. Writes Forbes, rather than forcing customers into platform-specific AI experiences, Walmart appears to be preparing for a world where multiple AI assistants coordinate on behalf of consumers. Sparky could evolve from a shopping assistant into the foundation for agent-to-agent commerce, where your personal AI assistant negotiates with Walmart systems to complete purchases, compare prices, or manage subscriptions. Indeed, they go on, this external agent capability could position Walmart as the hub for AI-mediated shopping across the entire ecosystem, not just Walmart purchases. Now, I think that this is absolutely the right approach at this stage. On the one hand, Walmart is of a size where it could throw its weight around to force consumers into its own walled gardens. But I think we simply don't know yet enough about how agentic shopping is likely to play out for companies to take that sort of aggressive approach without really running the risk of running counter to how things actually evolve in practice. And a last note on this that I found really interesting. Lest you think that this is all just being driven by the financial organization, I noticed that back at the end of June, a Meta senior ML engineer had posted a research paper from Walmart on agentic RAG for personalized recommendations. The paper is called Agentic Retrieval Augmented Generation for Personalized Recommendation and is by a group of Walmart global tech researchers based in California and Washington. The point being that Walmart is very clearly fully playing this game, not just taking what the market is giving them, but actually trying to push the frontier of what AI systems in retail can do. Now, zooming out as we wrap up here, I think if you're trying to make sense of this, the way to look at it is not so much what it means for consumers, although we do now have a great big additional playing field to understand agentic experiences in retail and see how it works in practice. I think instead it's to better understand that what the world's largest retailer and largest company by revenue globally has just said is that the future is not only agents, but complete agentic systems. Agent orchestrators, agent managers, multi-tier agent systems, in other words, that work across entire functions. Not to put too much pressure on you if you are an enterprise listener who's just excitedly kicking off your first individual agent experiments, but the biggest companies in the world are now racing past the individual agent stage right on into the agent orchestration and agent system stage. As always then, the subtext of this show is, put simply, speed up, friends, speed up. For now, though, that is going to do it for today's AI Daily Brief. Thanks as always for listening or watching, and until next time, peace.